Welcome, Gassers, to this GasCast Out Report episode for the Plymouth Argyle game at the Mem on Sunday in the second round of the FA Cup. What a place to be. I'm your host, Tom Metcalf, and I'm pleased to say that I'm joined by Adam from Argyle Life. Welcome, Adam.
Hello. Very nice to be here. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Rovers come into this game off the back of 2 away wins in a week. Away at Bromley in the FA Cup, the reason why we're playing Argyle on Sunday, and then beating Shrewsbury in a 4-3 epic at Gay Meadow on Saturday. Argyle come into this one on a similar run of form, beating Bolton away in the Cup to reach the second round, and then beating Bradford at home on Saturday. I wanted to start, Adam, with how relegation at the end of last season, I know it's painful to talk about, how that's affected the club, because some teams kind of fall through the leagues and some teams seem to kind of bounce straight back. How do you feel Argyle have managed it?
Yeah, painful one to talk about. I have to delve deep into my feelings for this one. But I mean, yeah, it's never nice to experience. And yet, at the same time, now, pre-season, rather than being a sense of dread and, oh no, here we go again, the club's going down a little, there was a lot of optimism around. And I think that had a lot to do with, seeing the back of Derek Adams and bringing in Ryan Lowe, which is a completely different style of play, a completely different style of management, in all honesty, that has almost raised expectations for the season.
Yeah, there's no love lost for Derek Adams from Rovers fans after his antics down the years.
I think that's fair. Yeah, no, I'm going to lie. I mean, I will have to concede that a few of those were enjoyable to me at the time, but no, I can see now that Derek Adams is on the other side. But I mean, in terms of, the club itself, have we been affected a great deal from the relegation? Not particularly. I mean, granted, if we had remained up on the final day and had Lowe as manager and were able to bring in a few more players to fit a system, I think we'd be in a really good place. But for the moment, there's a lot of good going around the club at the moment. We've got a new stand that's set to partially open for the next home game and then should be fully open for the new year, which is, it's looking fantastic. We've got a manager who, I like the way he plays. I know we're going to come to how he plays in a moment. It's just changed a little bit in recent weeks. But I look back on it and I think last season, rather than being a signal that the club was on its way down, was a massive missed opportunity. Our squad was good enough to stay up and then some in the league last season. We were 7th in the league beforehand, kept the vast majority of our star players, and were battling relegation the next. And I just think it was awful management. And as I say, had we stayed up, there was the opportunity to have Lowe in place, have a few more of his players in place, and have a right good go at League One. But for now, we're just on the edge of the playoffs now. I think we've finally started to hit a run of form. It's been a little inconsistent, but we've got the 3 wins in November now, which have really helped us out. And I think things are looking positive. It's a shame. It's always a shame to go down a division. I think we've all experienced it listening to this, and it's never fun. But I'm pleased to say that things are at least looking up at the moment, and hopefully they carry on from there.
That's as positive as you can get, really. I have to admit, I did put money on you guys at the start of the season to get promoted, just looking at the signings you were making, and obviously the manager. I thought, this is Argyle's year, just come straight back up. And looking at the teams in League Two, this is one of the things me and my mate talk about, kind of the fantasy of how many West Country teams could come up, and we could see 4 or 5 West Country teams. Well, no, maths won't work that way, but you know what I mean, like kind of maybe 4 West Country teams in League One next season would be absolutely amazing. Obviously you don't want Exeter to go up, but I wouldn't mind it. I'd
take it if we went up as well. That would be fine by me.
Fair enough. That's magnanimous of you, very much.
I'll take that.
Fair enough. So your last game, 2-1 win against Bradford, how was that?
Yeah, it was an example really of how Lowe's relatively new style of play, in the sense that we're looking to play the ball through the channels rather than through the midfield, has paid dividends. in all honesty, we should have won that game by a lot more than we did. We could easily have been 3 goals up at half time. They got a deflected cross going to our own net in the middle of all of that to make it 2-1 at the start of the second half. And by the end, really, it looked like we were relatively on top and were hanging on a little bit at the end, which felt a little bit unfair considering how the game went, to be honest. But it was a good win. I mean, they came in third in the league. I think we were mid-table with maybe a game in hand as we went into it, and won the game against the side in the automatic promotion places. There's not much to be sniffed at. Adding to the fact that we played relatively well and we were good value rather for the win. And there's no real complaints from my end on that one at all.
You mentioned kind of playing into the channels. Is that, you think, the tactic going forward? You're going to be looking kind of get it out wide and then into the box from there? Is that kind of how you think you're going to be playing?
It certainly looks like it for the moment. I think at the start of the season, it was very much a case that, as you'd expect from a Ryan Lowe side that likes to attack, keeping possession, that sort of thing, trying to work an opening for our creative players, particularly Danny Mayer. I mean, it was a lot based around him. Recently, it has been a case of, playing it into the space, maybe on the wings, and getting particularly Anthony Sarcevic running onto the ball, which is, this new star has really helped him come into his own. And as you say, once we're there, the opportunity to put the ball into the box, we've got 2 strikers that line up at all times, so there's always a chance that one of them will get on the end of that. And, it'll deliver results. I think the first goal at the weekend against Bradford was a prime example. Ball into the channel to Sarcevic. There's a hint of a foul there, but we got away with one a bit. He puts a low cross in, and Byron Moore's on hand to put it in. It was a rebound in the end, but he did manage to bundle it home. Second one, I mean, it was a case of their keepers made quite a big error in his clearance, but still at the same time, Joel Grant's got it on the wing and passed it inside to Edwards, who, has a very good finish in the end. So it's the sort of thing, it's the way we're creating goals at the moment by the looks of it. It's very much a case of working it into the space, getting players to run onto it and advance, by dribbling it and using their power, rather than how it would have previously been in allowing our creative players to have the ball and getting a bit of creativity to get in behind. With the way results are going, I mean, it's nothing to be sniffed at. As I say, it's been a perfect November for us, 3 games, 3 wins. Whether I'd like to see that style go forward, I think in an ideal world, long term, I'd like to see us go back to that creative Ryan Lowe style that we saw at Bury last season and the start of this season. That would be really exciting to watch. But if we keep winning games, I'm not going to complain too much.
No, that's fair enough. We've got a kind of similar thing going on with, obviously, Graham, big Argyle connection. With the football kind of being functional and it's getting results, but is it the greatest to watch? The Shrewsbury game was a bit of an outlier in that, scoring 4 goals away from home, absolutely amazing, but generally we tend to get a lot of low scoring games. Actually, while we're on Graham, are you looking forward to seeing him? Did you ever watch him when he was in his prime?
I think his prime for us was the 2003-04 season, which is the year before I went to my first Argyle game. So, I mean, I did get to see bits of him. I don't think I was around to fully appreciate his talents. But, I mean, you only need to hear stories from people a little bit older than myself about how he's been at Argyle. I mean, he's been involved in 2 promotions. Again, Ethan is involved in 2 quick promotions, can promote themselves to legend status very quickly. So it'll be nice. I think it was nice to have him down for the 2-2 draw at the back end of last season. So yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be a bit weird to see him in the other dugout again, but it's something we're getting used to a little bit. And yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I wish him every success in whatever he does. I know he was linked to the Argyle management role back in 2015 when Adams first came in, and I thought it might have been a bit too soon. So I am glad to hear that he's picked the right time by the looks of it, got settled down, and seems to be making a success of it. I mean, you all know a lot more than me about his management style, admittedly, but I mean, it sounds like, as you say, functional but effective from afar, which is what I would probably expect considering the sort of player he was.
yeah, very, very much a centre-backs team. Are there any particular teams that you found, any particular styles of play that you've tended to struggle against this season?
I think the high press. I mean, Lowe is very much an advocate of the high press, but when it happens against us, we do seem to panic a little bit. I think, I hate to mention it, but it always goes up. The 4-0 defeat at Exeter at the end of last month, they were very much on top of Argyle very quickly. And once the ball, we tried again to play it into the channels, but when that doesn't work, you don't see a lot of the ball. And when you're on the ball and you're being pressed all the time, you see even less of the ball. A Ryan Lowe team is very much one that wants to use the ball to their advantage and attack a lot. And when we don't have much of it, we can come unstuck quite often, it has to be said. So when it comes to teams who look to either press us high, or when we're using the possession style, which we've seen less often, counter-attack us, there's been teams that do that very well. I think Newport did it very well at the start of the season. I think Forest Green almost scored, I think one of their best chances in that game was a direct counter-attack from one of our corners. So I think counter-attacking can work against us, less so in recent weeks, but it certainly can. But the high press, I think, particularly in this style, if teams against us can manage that high press and execute it well, we have struggled. And I'd like to think that's being worked on. And don't get me wrong, I mean, results in the last few weeks would suggest that it perhaps is being worked on. But if I see a team execute it as well as, annoyingly, Exeter did, then I still don't know if we'd have the means to overcome that.
That's interesting to hear, actually, because a lot of this season, a lot of complaints from Rovers fans is that we tend to play, even at home, like the away team, like looking for the counter.
Okay.
But saying that, against Shrewsbury, we did push on and try and press teams a bit higher. Well, press Shrewsbury, I should say, a bit higher up the pitch, and that seemed to pay dividends. So if Graham
seems
is listening,
like the perfect cocktail.
it could. I mean, it could work. I wanted to ask you about some of the standout players in your squad, but I wanted to start with Byron Moore and Dominic Telford, of course, who have a gas connection. Byron Moore, it never kind of really happened for him at Rovers, whereas Dom Telford he was on loan at the time, and he kind of never really got a look in under Darryl. But although he did look a really tidy player, I just wanted to know how they're getting on down at Argyle.
Yeah, sure. So Byron Moore, I think, for a start, both of them had a few injury niggles, which hasn't been ideal. I think Byron Moore is the sort of player who is really good for the system we're playing at the moment. If you play a ball either in behind the defence or into the channels around the defence, he's the sort of player that can run onto it and do really well. And his finishing, which is kind of crucial for when you're in this system, the two strikers in the box ready to pounce on those crosses, they need to be able to finish. It hasn't been the best. It's not been bad, but it's not been the best. But I mean, I'd like to. I think he's very much got a place in this system for us, and I think he's starting to hit the ground running now. Of course, he's got his goal at the weekend, which I hope perhaps the start of a bit of a run for him. And in terms of Telford, he's been out for a little while longer. I think he came back. I want to say. He definitely came as a sub at Forest Green. He might have done in the previous game at Bolton as well. I honestly couldn't tell you. But either way, he's been out for a little while and is just starting to come back now into the fold. And I really like the look of him, I've got to say. I mean, if he was available for the whole season, I think we'd be looking at a lot more goals, to be honest. He's got an excellent finish on him. He showed that against Leyton Orient in the League Cup with a nice run and finishing off the post. He's got that sort of ability in him. But he also seems really good at holding up the ball, which I don't know if that's just deceiving me a little bit, that he holds up the ball well for someone who's so short, and therefore I think he's amazing at it. But he's got that ability as well. And in terms of, bringing him on as a sub when you're looking to see out a game like we were at the weekend, like we were the week before, he's pretty good at it. Which, again, surprises me, and I do wonder if I'm being deceived a little bit by him just looking really good. But, I mean, I think if he hits the ground running, he could be the most important striker in our system. And to hit the ground running, obviously, he's got to build up his fitness after that time he's been out of the team. Whether he'll get the chance to do that in the foreseeable future, I'm honestly not sure, because I'd be very surprised if Lowe messes about with his lineup too much. We've got Joel Grant and Moore up front at the moment. So he may be limited to a few substitute appearances and have to rely on maybe a drop in form or injuries from one of the current strikers. But I think if he does get that run in the team, he could be really successful. The signs have been good so far. I'd I'd like to see him get that run soon because I think he would add a lot to our strike force, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess. And yeah, hopefully he'll come very good by the end of the season.
Yeah, I have to agree with you with the surprising how strong he is for what I think he could technically be a midget.
It really is.
I'm
yeah,
really surprised. Yeah. The other player I wanted to mention was Danny Mayer. I think he probably had offers in League One, and he's definitely one that I would have absolutely loved to seen Rovers sign. Do you think he's playing kind of below his level, without meaning any disrespect, in League Two?
No, of course. Yes, is the short answer. He's very much a League One player in a League Two side. What really frustrates me at the moment is that the style that we're using makes things very difficult for him. He's the sort of creative player that wand of a right foot. I think he's the only one that doesn't have a wand of a left foot, but a wand of a right foot. That can create a chance out of nothing or score a goal out of nothing. He's that sort of player. He's possibly the only player since we lost Graham Carey and Ruben Lemiras at the end of last season that can do that in our side. What's really annoying is that Danny Mayer thrives with the ball. And in the current system, we don't see as much of it as we used to. And it's very much geared around our other attacking midfield player, Sarcevic, who's really been able to shine in recent weeks, almost at Mayer's expense. I wrote a piece for it at Argyle Life, shameless plug there, but I wrote a piece about it, how they looked at the weekend. Danny Mayer did look really good. His pass completion was better than anybody else on the field, bar Telford, who completed about 7 after coming on as a sub. But he's not seeing as much of the ball as he'd like because we like to lump it long into those channels and get Sarcevic running onto it. So Sarcevic's having a whale of a time, and I've got to hand it to him. He's really has been fantastic, particularly in the last month or so. He's turned into one of our most important players in the system. But I see an asset of Danny Mayer there, and I just can't get my head around why you wouldn't build your team around his talents. And maybe we'll see it again, but I think if I was him, I would be getting a little bit frustrated knowing that he has the ability to play at a higher level. I know certainly Ipswich were involved, and I imagine he had a few more League One offers as well. And knowing that we were almost building his style in a level below that's negating his talents almost. So, yes, he is a very good player. I'm delighted we've got him, but I would like us to see us use him to the best effect, if you like.
Are there any others in the team that we should be looking out for come Sunday?
I think, Sarcevic, I've mentioned, will inevitably be vital to how we play. And if we can get him running onto the ball, he's enough trouble for any defence at League 2 or 1 level, to be honest. I think it's a weird one. I'm almost inclined to whisper it quietly because he was absolutely terrible last season. But Scott Wooten in defence has really come into his own in recent weeks. I think the system helps him because he's generally been terrible in the air and able to, do your standard bit of defending, but terrible at winning headers. And playing 3 at the back means a lot of the headers are down to the central defender, which is usually Niall Canavan. Wooten doesn't have to challenge as much in the air, and it means he can do things such as bring the ball out from defence, do little bits of it. I always think back to the Colchester game at the start of the season where he prevented a certain goal of the ball across the box just with a clever flick at the back post to get it away. And for some reason that stuck with me. But I mean, he's the sort of player, and recently I think against Forest Green he ended up winning more headers than anyone on the field, which is unheard of for him. So I'm really pleased to see it. I'm really surprised to see it, to be honest. When we were going into the season, it looked like Scott Wooten was going to be one of our first choice centre-backs. I was filled with dread. But honestly, he's done really well. And if he and Gary Sawyer alongside Canavan can keep their run of form going, because that appears to be our best back 3 at the moment, and we've kept clean sheets more often than not when that back 3 has been in place. If those 3, and particularly Wooten, can maintain their high standards, it could be frustrating for Rovers going forward, but we'll see.
I didn't realise Gary Sawyer was still playing. He's got to be ancient now, surely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of fans have thought... I remember the early part of 16-17 when Ben Purrington came into the side at left-back, and a lot of people thought, that could be the end for Sawyer here. Purrington's doing well, he won't get his place in the side. And here we are, 3 years later, and he's still a mainstay of the defence. I mean, he's evergreen.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, more power to him. Another ex-Gas connection there. The other player I just wanted to talk to you about was Jose Baxter, who terminated his contract by mutual consent after picking up a calf injury. I understand he was on a short-term contract anyway. Would you have liked him to stay? Did you see enough of him to think got a player there?
I'd have liked him to at least stuck around till the end of the season. He got a goal in the League Cup against Reading that we ended up losing the game, but it was a really good performance from him, and it looked like he could kick on from there. I think a lot of us are well versed in the problems that he had off the field in the last few years, with drug addiction, and it's brilliant to see him come out the other side of that. And I think it's a real shame. It would have been a real bonus for us, I think, to pick up a player of his calibre and him to be a success. Because I think without his off-field issues, he'd easily be League One and even Championship player at least if he was able to kick on and focus on his career. In terms of what went wrong with Argyle, I think it was very much an injury. We've not heard anything else to suggest it was an off-field issue that led to that termination. I think it was very much a case he was on a short-term deal, he was injured, the team by and large was doing well, so I think it was very much a case that Lowe and Baxter agreed that it was time to move on. I think that's a real shame. I would have liked to see him stick around and get a run in the side, because I think him and Mayer alongside each other in that attacking midfield would be a scary prospect for any League Two defence. But I guess it was a gamble that we took at the end of the summer to see if we could get a good season out of him, and it hasn't paid off. It's a shame, but I guess the amount of time that he was injured, we didn't see much of him. It's not necessarily like we've lost a great deal as a result. We just haven't gained what we could have done. And I guess in that situation, it is what it is. And we wish him all the best. And I do hope he picks up a contract soon and is able to hit the ground running, because there is a really good player there. And I'd love to see him make the most of his talents in the years to come.
Yeah, I think every football fan wants to see him do well after the problems that he's had. Going back to the cup, this is a kind of bit of a, what would be your fantasy tie in the third round? Who would you love to play? I mean,
go on. Give us yours.
I don't want to bring up Exeter really after the mauling you got. Would you want a chance to avenge that? I suppose you got to play them again in the league, but
yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, with the Exeter one, I say it quietly, but it's almost what we needed. It's given the team a kick up the arse, and we've got on a winning run since then. So I'm happy to avoid them for now until we get them in the league. I think my dream tie, it's a weird one. My dream tie, if you like, would be Liverpool away, but we had that a couple of years ago. We went to Liverpool in 2017, I think it was, and I got a 0-0 draw, and honestly, it was one of the best days I've ever had. So I've had that now. I'd like to go again, don't get me wrong, but something like going to Spurs or going to Old Trafford, maybe a few of the bigger grounds I haven't been to, would be wonderful. I don't think we're under any illusions that we're going to win the competition, but maybe if a non-league team does get through to the third round and we could face them at home, that would be ideal. But I mean, yeah, I think going to Spurs' new ground would be really nice. If not going to Liverpool again, I'll always have a soft spot and be willing to do that. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say, as long as we avoid one of the boring ties, if you like a League Two side away or something like that. I don't really fancy that.
No, that's absolutely fair. And actually, chatting to kind of my mates and that, Spurs comes up a lot just because of their new stadium, and Liverpool away comes up a lot. But for us, it's City. It's always City.
Yeah.
If we can get City in the third round, that would be absolutely magic. So can I put you on the spot for a score prediction on Sunday?
I've been thinking that, looking at the bank balance, and think I may have to fork out for another game. I think we might see a 1-1 draw and see you back at home park in 10 days' time.
I'd absolutely love that. I always love coming to home park.
Might have to do one of these again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna do a 2-1 Rovers win. I think we're just the way that Graham's kind of been more tactically flexible over the past kind of couple of months. I feel like we can do it and get into the promised land of the third round for the first time in about, well, I can't even remember.
Says it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm amazed we're in the second round without going out. Well, normally we go out to a non-league team in the first round, so this is just a bonus for me. This is absolutely fantastic. Well, I think that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for your time, Adam.
Not a problem at all. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, a pleasure. And thanks for listening, Gasheads. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you really loved it, please leave us a review on iTunes. And just leaves me to say, up the gas.